Hi, hello everyone. So I am restarting my top 10 Tuesday, and I figured to start off I would do top 10 moments or favorite moments from my absolute favorite series, the Hunger Games trilogy. So let's get started. This one is actually from Catching Fire. It did not make it into the movie, which I'm very disappointed about, and that is when they view the videos for the second quarter quell, which was the game that their mentor, Hamish, had won. See, in the second quarter quell, instead of 24, they doubled it and they're 48. So he actually won out of 48 kids. And he kind of made an alliance with one of his district partners, which was Maisie Donner, who was the original owner of the Mockingjay pen, which was passed down to Madge Undersea, the mayor's daughter, who actually gave it to Katniss in the Hunger Games book. They changed it in the movie, which I was so disappointed in. And then Catching Fire, they totally took out the viewing of the video. And I just like that moment because it shows a little bit of history and background about like how Haymitch won, about who was friends with who, and the connection of the people in the district. And you know, you get to remember that this has happened for generations, and that friends have lost friends and stuff for years. The next one is Finnick's story from Mockingjay, and I believe this was in Mockingjay Part 2 for the movies. This is where he tells the story about what the Capitol actually did to him. There is just so much more to Finnick than being just this good-looking guy. He actually has a kind heart, and you can see he is not one of those people that would have chosen to volunteer for the games. Basically, the Capitol kind of used him kind of like a prostitute kind of thing, that they basically made him go with women and use his body for money and for the capital. They just used him as a pawn. They used him as an object. And I found this interesting that she did this because a lot of the times in these stories and these narratives, it's always women being used this way. But I like how she kind of showed that things can happen to anybody, no matter who they are. But she also didn't have to kind of push this ultra feminazi kind of thing, or victim blaming, or making victims weak or whatever. No, she showed that things could happen to different people, and she showed how they rose above it. And I think that Finnick, he didn't let it change who he was. It didn't let him become, I mean, he comes off as conceited, but that's not really who he is. He has to put up this front, but deep down, he still is who he is. And I like that he just came out and just laid all that crap out about the Capitol, about the secrets that they have, about how things aren't how they always seem. And yeah, I just thought that was like a really honest and powerful moment for like a character I really liked. So the next one is the Mockingjay dress transformation. So in Catching Fire, the third quarter quell is now that former victors will have to go back into the arena and fight once again. And of course, everyone is pissed off about this because the thing is, you survived the Hunger Games, that's supposed to be it. You're not supposed to be bothered with it anymore. You won, you survived, that's it. So Peeta and Katniss are playing up this whole romance thing because of what happened in the first book, and they're trying to keep peace with the evil, you know, President Snow and everything, and with the districts. So they make her go into a wedding dress for like their interviews and stuff that they do. But what she doesn't know is that the dress has been modified, so when she does her twirl, instead of just sparkling with the synthetic fire, it actually burns up and turns into a gray dress with wings, which is basically to symbolize the Mockingjay which was an experiment by the Capitol gone wrong. So it's a symbol of rebellion, and I just love that. It's feminine, it's beautiful, and it's rebellious. So the next one is the hospital scene. It has a lot of action in it within the movie, and I guess if you read the book, but it's also terribly sad. So Katniss is in District 13 now. She has survived or got out of the second quarter quell, and now she's going off to visit District 8 to, try and lift their spirits, to show that she's alive, that she's gonna fight for them. She has her own doubts about it. She's trying to keep strong for the people. And then, of course, the Capitol gets word of this, and they start bombing. And unfortunately, they do bomb the hospital that is filled with men, women, and children, unarmed people, innocent people that they've hurt. And of course, they're the Capitol, they don't care. So, of course, there's this big battle scene, and it's really done well in the movie. So, unfortunately, yes, the people die. And the thing is, though, within that battle, they end up shooting down one of the Capitol planes. And she looks into the camera and she says, "That fire is catching, but if we burn, you burn with us." And I just thought that was such a badass thing to say. It's one of the reasons I love her character so much. The next one is from Catching Fire, and it is a scene where they are at this banquet to celebrate their victory from the first games. And there's a whole bunch of foods. Now you have to remember, in District 12, they are always searching for food. They starve all the time. In fact, it is known that people in their district often starve to death. And the thing is that they are the ones doing the work, and all the best of the work will go to the Capitol. So they're at this buffet, and of course they're not used to eating all this much, and they start to get full. So they hand Katniss this drink, and she goes to drink it, and they're like, "No, you have to drink it in the bathroom." And she's like, "Why?" And they're like, "It makes you sick, so you can go on eating to try everything." And of course, this pretty much makes her so angry that almost enrages her, because here they are drinking something to throw up all this food that they have, while people who are out there in the districts working hard to support their families and support these rich people, really. They're starving while these people are making pigs of themselves and throwing up to eat more. And, as a person who has struggled in their life and is not like the richest person, I kind of seen her point, and even that kind of made me angry. And really, in real life, there are people that do waste so much, and I thought that was just so relevant to a lot of things in real life and how we value things. So the next moment I'm going to talk about is when they go to show the game makers their skills. Now, in other games, basically, it's all based on survival, and the last person standing is the one who wins. So once you come off your platform or whatever, you're going in with just the clothes that the Capitol gave you. No food, no water, no nothing. So you try to get sponsors because they will send you matches, food, things, anything to keep you fed, warm, dry. And so when she goes to show her skills, which is basically, I guess you would call it archery or whatever, because she uses a bow and arrow, none of them are paying attention. They are just so into their food and their conversation. They have this roasted pig. So she gets fed up, she picks up her bow, and she shoots the apple out of the pig's mouth into the wall. Then she bows and goes, "Thank you for your consideration." I fucking love that moment. The next one comes from Catching Fire, where instead of showing off skill, her and Peta want to basically stick it to the capital. So she takes a dummy and hangs somebody from the capital. Like, she writes their name on it. You'll find out who that was, in the movies and in the books. And then Peta, he paints a picture of Rue, who was her ally, which was a 12-year-old little girl who was killed in the games. And because he wanted to show that they were responsible for this little girl's death. And that was a time where Peta, even being gentle Peta, was awesome. And so, you know, just awesome. The next ones are from The Hunger Games and Mockingjay. Oh, and Catching Fire. It was all three. The mutations, which are genetically, mutated animal kind of things. They were horrifying in Mockingjay, and I really liked how they were done in the movie. They were done much better than in the first movie, but they were just so creepy. In Catching Fire, we had the Jabberjays, which were the birds that mix with mockingbirds to make mockingjays. It, it, it was twisted, really, in the first two, because in Catching Fire, they had recorded the voices of their loved ones in distress to kind of torture them in the second quarter quell. But in the first movie, they didn't even do in this first movie, the first book, they changed it up in the movie. What they did was they took aspects, features of the dead tributes, and put them on these monsters. So not only were you being chased by these wolf-like characters, they had the eyes and the facial features and everything else of the kids that died around you. And that is just so twisted and dark. And that is just such a horrible way to torture people that you're already torturing in their own districts. Now you have to do something so twisted. So we are at number 3, and for number 3 I have the Cornucopia Bloodbath. And the thing is, the Hunger Games, all three of them, they are first person present tense, so we are in the moment with the character. And so for the starting off point, what they do is they go to this underground thing and they are lifted up into the arena. The rule is they have to stand on their platform for 60 seconds. Now, she talks about, in the book, briefly, it's gone over briefly in the movie, but in the book she talks about in a past game how this girl, her token that she took into the arena was a ball. Unfortunately, she dropped the ball before the time was up, and she exploded. Because there are landmines underneath the platforms. Basically, it's so no one gets a head start and everyone goes off at the same time. So that was a little bit of something really dark that they took out of the movie. They didn't take it out, but she just didn't mention it. So basically, here's our character. She knows that her family is watching. And the thing is, the Hunger Games, the reaping starts at 12 years old. So just imagine between being a 12-year-old or even all the way to an 18-year-old. The only person who can win is the last survivor. Everyone else around you has to die for you to win. So all 23 other kids, they're going to be fighting for their own life, just like you are. And imagine that clock is counting down. Your family is watching you. There's these rich people taking bets on who's going to win and everything. It's not like, these other stories like Hatchet or Lord of the Flies or something where people don't know where you are and you're scared and everything. You're scared because people know where you are. They're watching you and they're hoping, you know, for bloodshed and violence, and they're going to watch you die or watch other people around you. You have no idea what's going to happen. You can die in the next 10 minutes. I mean, imagine that hurt, that anger, that intense feeling, that time is running out. What do you do? Do you go for the weapons? Do you run and hide? Um, who's going to be there if you do run and hide? Are people going to be out there? How are you going to survive? I mean, imagine having just a minute to think about all that. So number two is Rue's Goodbye, and this one was so sad and so beautifully done. I loved how it was portrayed in the movie, and it's even sadder in the book. So she teams up with Rue from District 11. They make this alliance, and of course, being the Hunger Games, and it being told from the point of view of Katniss, it's not hard to tell that Rue ends up getting killed. So, as her last request is, of course, for Katniss to go on and to win, and to sink her, you know, as she is passing, because they know she's gonna die. She's been hit in the stomach with a spear or whatever, so they know time is running out. And so she sings to her until she dies, and then she covers her with flowers. And in the movie, it's all just, she sings, and then it cuts to where there's no talking. There's just music as she is putting flowers on her. Then she turns to her and gives her the District 12 salute, which means that, it's saying goodbye to someone that you respected and you loved. And they don't talk about it until Catching Fire, but in the book, and she ends up getting bread from District 11 that, of course, was supposed to go to Rue. So instead of taking it back because the person, from their district had died, they gave it to her as a thank you for being an ally, for taking care of her. And the thing about the games is that it's supposed to tear people apart, They're not supposed to come together because you were hoping that somebody else's kid dies so yours can come home. And that right there was like the ultimate act of rebellion and strength, because they are not letting the capital use them as pawns at that moment. At that moment, they are a country, they are a people, and they're going to show them they're not going to stand for that. And I thought that whole scene was so heartbreaking, but beautiful and strong at the same time. So at number one, I have Katniss volunteering to take Prim's place in the Hunger Games. This basically is a thing that started it all. It just shows deep dedication to your family. It shows what kind of morality she has, that she is a strong character, but yet she has, fears. It really shows that she is a very humanistic character, somebody that you would think existed in real life. And I just love, how they cut back to the scene with her and Peeta once he is announced that he is a boy tribute, that whole thing, because that is just so sad first your sister almost gets taken away, then the boy that you have to outlive is the one that saved your life at one point. Wow, that would suck. So those are my top 10 favorite moments. Um, if you have not read this series, I highly, highly recommend it. It just covers so much between family and loss and poverty and prejudice and violence. There's just so much going on in this trilogy. Read it.